My name is Mackenzie Miller, 32, and I thought 7 years of marriage to Ryan meant something. We arrived at the Hawaiian resort for our family vacation, excitement buzzing through me until the moment at check-in when Ryan casually announced, "I booked rooms for me, my ex-girlfriend Amber, and the kids, they're my real love." Something inside me shattered, but I simply smiled, nodded, and walked away without a word. He never saw it coming. Before I continue my story, where are you watching from today? Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever had to choose yourself when someone took you for granted. Ryan and I met at my colleague Derek's wedding 7 years ago. I was 25 then, already making a name for myself as a marketing executive at a growing tech firm in Seattle. The wedding reception was elegant, twinkling lights, champagne flowing, and romantic music setting the scene for what I thought would be my own fairy tale beginning. Ryan Harrison stood out immediately, tall with warm brown eyes and an infectious laugh that drew people to him. He was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in my work and ambitions. After 3 glasses of champagne and hours of conversation that flowed effortlessly, I gave him my number. Our romance moved quickly. Coffee dates turned into dinner dates. Weekend hikes turned into weekend getaways. Within 6 months, we were discussing marriage. His intensity swept me away. He'd send flowers to my office just because, leave little notes in my purse to find throughout the day, and plan elaborate dates that showed thoughtfulness I'd never experienced before. What made our relationship more complex, and in retrospect, should have been my first warning, was that Ryan came with a package deal. His 2 children, Emma and Jacob, were 3 and 5 when we met. Their mother, Amber, had remained a constant presence in Ryan's life even after their breakup 2 years before we met. Co-parenting, Ryan explained whenever I questioned their frequent texts or her unannounced visits to drop off items the kids supposedly needed. We keep things friendly for the kids. I admired that and worked hard to be the perfect stepmother. I attended every school play, helped with science projects, and learned to cook their favorite meals. I rearranged my work schedule to accommodate their activities and spent countless hours researching blended family dynamics to ensure I was doing everything right. For the first 3 years, I genuinely thought we were building something beautiful. Yes, there were challenges. The children tested boundaries, as children do, and sometimes used "but mom lets us" as leverage. There were awkward birthday parties where Amber would arrive early and leave late, always finding reasons to pull Ryan aside for private conversations. But I told myself this was normal, that successful blended families required patience and understanding. The disrespect started small, almost imperceptible. Ryan would make decisions about the children without consulting me. Weekend plans would change last minute because Amber needs me to take the kids. My work events were optional, but Amber's requests were obligations. When I pointed this out, Ryan would sigh and say, "You knew I had kids when you married me," as if my desire for consideration was somehow a rejection of his children. Last Christmas, Ryan spent 3 hours helping Amber assemble a playhouse for the kids at her house, while I hosted his entire family for dinner alone. When he finally returned, he couldn't understand why I was upset. "The kids were so excited about that playhouse," he said. "Don't make this about you." Still, I persisted in my attempts to create the perfect family. The Hawaiian vacation was my idea, a chance to bond, create memories, and strengthen our family unit. I spent months planning every detail, researching kid-friendly activities that would also be enjoyable for adults, finding the perfect resort with separate rooms for us and the children to give everyone space while keeping us connected. "This is going to be amazing," I told Ryan as I showed him the itinerary I'd created. "The kids will love the dolphin experience, and there's a couple's massage scheduled while they're at the resort's kids club." Ryan barely glanced at my carefully constructed plans. "Sounds good," he said, already turning back to his phone. "Just make sure there's time for the kids to relax too. They don't like being overscheduled." I nodded and adjusted the itinerary, removing activities I'd been excited about to accommodate more downtime. That's what good stepmothers do, I told myself. They put the children's needs first. The day before our departure, I overheard Ryan on the phone, his voice low and intimate. "It'll be great for you to have a break too," he was saying. "The kids are so excited." I assumed he was talking to his mother, who often watched the children. It never occurred to me he was talking to Amber. As we boarded the plane, Emma, now 8, looked up at me with her father's brown eyes and asked, "Is Mommy sitting with us on the plane?" Confused, I looked at Ryan, who avoided my gaze. "Mommy's on a different flight, sweetie," he said casually. "She'll meet us at the hotel." The sick feeling in my stomach grew as I processed this information. Throughout the 5-hour flight, Ryan acted as though nothing was unusual, while I sat in stunned silence, processing what this meant. By the time we landed in Maui, I had convinced myself I had misunderstood. Perhaps Amber was taking her own vacation at the same time, coincidentally. Perhaps there was a reasonable explanation. I held on to that hope until the moment we approached the check-in desk at the Grand Wailea Resort, my dream destination that I'd saved for and researched extensively. The moment that would change everything. The Grand Wailea Resort stood like a paradise dream against the Hawaiian sky, palm trees swaying, the scent of plumeria hanging in the air, and the sound of the ocean providing a soothing backdrop to what should have been the beginning of a perfect family vacation. After the long flight, Emma and Jacob raced ahead into the massive lobby, marveling at the waterfalls and pools visible through the open-air design. "Kids, stay where I can see you," Ryan called out casually, seemingly unconcerned as they disappeared around a corner. He placed his hand on the small of my back as we approached the reception desk, a gesture that had once made me feel cherished but now felt performative. The receptionist greeted us with a warm smile and traditional lei. "Welcome to Grand Wailea. Checking in under Harrison?" "Yes," Ryan confirmed, handing over his ID and credit card. "There should be 2 rooms reserved." The receptionist typed into her computer. "Yes, I see that. We have you in a deluxe ocean view suite and another ocean view room with 2 queen beds." I smiled, pleased that the room arrangements I'd planned had been executed correctly. 1 suite for us and a separate room for the children, close enough for comfort, but allowing for privacy. "Perfect," I said, reaching for the room keys she was preparing. Ryan cleared his throat. "Actually, there might be a 3rd guest checking in separately. Amber Lawrence? She'll be staying with the kids." The receptionist looked confused. "I only see 2 rooms reserved, sir." "That's right," Ryan said casually, as if discussing something as mundane as dinner plans. "I'll be staying with the kids and their mother. They're my real love, you know." He laughed as if he'd made a charming joke, while my world collapsed around me. The receptionist's eyes darted between us, sensing the sudden tension. I see. "And the suite would be for my wife," Ryan said, nodding toward me without meeting my eyes. "Mackenzie will be in the suite." Time seemed to stop. The bustling lobby faded to background noise as I processed what was happening. Ryan had invited his ex-girlfriend on our family vacation. He had planned all along for them to share a room with the children, creating a perfect family unit that didn't include me. "When does Amber arrive?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the earthquake happening inside me. Ryan checked his watch. "Her flight lands in about an hour. I was going to take the kids to pick her up." The receptionist handed me a key card, her expression sympathetic. "Your suite is in the Napua Tower, room 2418. It has a private lanai and an excellent ocean view." I took the key, my fingers numb. "Thank you. Do you need help with your luggage, Mrs. Harrison?" she asked. Before I could answer, Ryan interjected. "We've got it. Kids, come on. Let's go see our rooms." Emma and Jacob reappeared, racing toward their father with excitement. As we walked through the resort, Ryan chatted about dinner plans and activities as if nothing extraordinary had happened. The children skipped ahead, pointing at the elaborate pools and water slides. I remained silent, observing this scene as if from a great distance. When we reached the elevator bank, Ryan pressed the button for the 4th floor. The kids and I are in the Wailea wing, room 4115. Why don't you get settled in your suite, and we'll text you when we're heading to the airport for Amber. I looked at him, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time in years. Who was this man who could so casually discard me? Who could speak of his real love while standing beside his wife? 7 years of marriage, of raising his children, of building what I thought was a life together, and he could push me aside without even the decency of a discussion. I smiled. Not the hurt, angry smile of someone about to cause a scene, but a calm, almost peaceful smile of someone seeing clearly at last. All right, I said simply. Ryan looked momentarily confused by my easy acquiescence, but quickly recovered. Great. We'll see you in a bit. He herded the children into the elevator, the doors closing on their excited chatter. I took a different elevator to the Napua Tower, finding my suite with its expansive ocean view exactly as promised. It was beautiful, a large king bed, elegant Hawaiian decor, a marble bathroom with a soaking tub, and a private lanai overlooking the Pacific. Under different circumstances, I would have texted Ryan immediately, sharing my excitement about the luxurious accommodations. Instead, I set my suitcase in the closet and walked to the lanai, breathing in the salt air as I considered my options. I could confront Ryan, demand explanations, and potentially ruin the vacation for everyone, including the children who were innocent in all this. I could swallow my pride and endure 2 weeks of being the outsider in my own family. Or I could choose myself, for perhaps the first time in our marriage. My decision made, I retrieved my purse and the emergency credit card Ryan didn't know about, the one I'd maintained separately from our joint accounts on my financial advisor's recommendation. Every woman should have resources of her own, she'd told me, and now I was grateful for her foresight. I left the key card on the desk and exited the suite, taking the elevator down to the lobby. Rather than exiting through the main entrance where I might be spotted, I walked through the shopping arcade and out a side exit where I hailed a taxi. For Seasons Maui, please, I instructed the driver. It was extravagant, but I needed somewhere Ryan wouldn't think to look immediately. During the short drive, my phone began buzzing with texts. Ryan, where are you? We're heading to the airport. Ryan, did you go to the pool? The kids want to swim after we get Amber. Ryan, Mackenzie, answer your phone. Ryan, are you seriously throwing a tantrum right now? The kids are asking for you. The texts escalated in urgency and irritation. I silenced my phone as the taxi pulled up to the Four Seasons. The hotel had a cancellation and was able to accommodate me for the night. As I settled into another luxury suite, this one paid for entirely with my own money, I felt a strange sense of calm. I ordered room service, enjoying a quiet dinner on my private balcony as the sun set over the ocean. Later, I turned on my phone to find 27 missed calls and 43 text messages. The latest ones had shifted from irritation to concern. Ryan, where the hell are you? This isn't funny anymore. Ryan, the hotel says you're not in your room. Where did you go? Ryan. Mackenzie, I'm worried. Please just let me know you're safe. Amber, hi Mackenzie, it's Amber. Ryan is really worried. Can you please text him back? That last one almost made me laugh. Amber was texting me from my husband's phone, concerned about my whereabouts while she prepared to sleep in a room with him and their children. I sent a single text, I'm safe. Enjoy your family vacation. Then I turned off my phone completely. For the first time in years, I slept deeply and dreamlessly, undisturbed by anyone's needs but my own. Morning arrived with golden Hawaiian sunshine streaming through my balcony doors. For a moment, I lay in the king-sized bed, disoriented by the silence. No children asking for breakfast. No Ryan rushing to shower before me. Just the distant sound of waves and birds. I ordered breakfast, a luxury I rarely allowed myself at home, and took it to the balcony. As I sipped perfectly brewed coffee and watched surfers in the distance, memories surfaced like bubbles in champagne. Our third anniversary, when Ryan had forgotten entirely because Emma had a soccer tournament. You know how important her activities are, he'd said when I mentioned it that night. Don't make me choose. As if acknowledging our marriage milestone would somehow take something away from his daughter. Jacob's 8th birthday party last year, when Amber had taken over my carefully planned celebration, rearranging decorations and changing the schedule I'd created. When I'd objected, Ryan had pulled me aside. She's their mother, Mackenzie. This is already hard enough for her. What about how hard it was for me, always being treated as secondary in my own home? The parent-teacher conferences where teachers automatically addressed Amber and Ryan while I stood slightly apart, despite being the one who helped with homework every night. The family photos on Ryan's desk at work, pictures of him with the children and Amber from before our marriage, but none with me. The pattern was clear now, viewed from this peaceful distance. I had been slowly erased, my role diminished to convenient childcare provider and household manager, while the real family maintained their bonds. Ryan had never fully separated from Amber emotionally, and I had been too determined to make our marriage work to acknowledge it. I thought about our finances. The joint accounts where my substantially larger salary disappeared into family expenses, house payments, and the children's activities, while Ryan maintained a separate account for his personal expenses. How many of those expenses had involved Amber? The thought made me reach for my phone before remembering I'd turned it off. When I powered it on, a flood of notifications appeared, 104 missed calls, 87 text messages, and 23 voicemails. I ignored them all and called my best friend Heather instead. Mackenzie? Oh my God, where are you? Ryan's been calling everyone. He says you disappeared from your hotel in Hawaii. I'm at a different hotel, I said calmly. Heather, did you know Amber was coming on our vacation? What? No. Why would Amber be there? Ryan invited her. He booked a room for them to share with the kids. Called them his real love right in front of me at check-in. Heather's gasp was audible. He didn't. He did. And you know what? I'm not even surprised. I'm just seeing clearly for the first time. As I recounted the events and my realizations, Heather's initial shock gave way to anger on my behalf. This has been happening for years, Mac. We've all seen it, but you were so determined to make it work. Why didn't you say anything? I asked, not accusingly but genuinely curious. We tried, in the beginning. Remember Tiffany's birthday dinner 3 years ago? When I asked why Ryan and Amber were texting throughout the meal. You defended him, said it was about Jacob's asthma medication. I did remember. I'd been so convinced that their constant communication was solely about the children, so determined to be the understanding, mature stepmother. What are you going to do now? Heather asked after a pause. I don't know yet, I admitted. But I'm not going back to that resort today. I need time to think without Ryan's manipulation. After ending the call with Heather, I checked my voicemails. Most were from Ryan, his tone evolving from irritated to worried to desperate. Mackenzie, this is ridiculous. Call me back. Where are you? The kids are asking questions I can't answer. Please, just let me know you're alive. I've called the police. That last one gave me pause. Had he actually involved the authorities? The thought was confirmed by the next voicemail from Officer Wilson of the Maui Police Department, asking me to contact them to confirm my safety. I called the police number, explained that I was safe but taking personal time after a marital disagreement, and declined their offer to disclose my location to my husband. Ryan's mother had also left messages, her familiar guilt-inducing tone in full effect. Mackenzie, I don't know what's gotten into you, but these children are devastated. Whatever issue you have with my son, those kids shouldn't suffer for it. I deleted her message without a second thought. The children weren't suffering. They were having a Hawaiian vacation with both their parents, exactly what Ryan had planned all along. The most interesting voicemails were from Amber herself. Hi Mackenzie, it's Amber. Look, I don't know what's going on between you and Ryan, but this is awkward for everyone. Ryan said you knew I was coming. If that's not true, well, we should talk. Her second message, left hours later, was more revealing. I think I understand what's happening now. For what it's worth, Ryan told me you two had discussed separation and that you were fine with me coming along to help with the kids. If that wasn't the conversation, I'm sorry. This isn't how I would have chosen to handle things. I sat with that information, turning it over in my mind. Ryan had been planning this, had created a narrative for Amber that painted me as already on my way out of the marriage. How long had he been working toward this moment? My executive assistant Brenda had also called, concerned after receiving a frantic call from Ryan. I texted her briefly to confirm I was fine, but taking personal time, and asked her to reschedule my meetings for the next week. Then I turned my phone off again and called the hotel concierge. It was time to extend my stay and make some plans of my own. By mid-afternoon, I had established a new base at the Four Seasons, booking a garden view room for the next 5 days at a more reasonable rate than the initial ocean view suite. I'd also scheduled a massage, booked a rental car, and made an appointment with Patricia Reynolds, a lawyer friend who happened to be vacationing on Maui with her family. Curious about the situation at the Grand Wailea, I turned my phone on briefly. The bombardment was immediate, notifications cascading down my screen like a digital waterfall. What caught my attention was an email from the Grand Wailea's guest services with the subject line, regarding the incident in your party. Apparently, Ryan's panic had escalated to the point where he'd involved the entire resort staff in searching for me. According to the politely worded email, he had reported me missing, described me as potentially emotionally unstable, and had staff checking security footage. The hotel was reaching out to confirm my safety and determine if I needed assistance, or if I simply wished to maintain privacy from the disturbance in the lobby. I replied briefly, thanking them for their concern, confirming I had voluntarily left the property, and requesting that they not share my correspondence with Mr. Harrison due to personal matters. The resort manager responded almost immediately, assuring me of their discretion and offering assistance should I choose to return to collect belongings from the suite. Switching to text messages, I found that Ryan's communications had taken on a frenzied quality. The police say you called them but won't tell me where you are. The kids are crying. Jacob thinks you're never coming back. What am I supposed to tell everyone? That my wife had a mental breakdown and ran away from a family vacation. If this is about Amber, you're completely overreacting. She's here for the kids. Please just come back so we can talk about this like adults. Interspersed with Ryan's messages were texts from friends and colleagues who had apparently been enlisted in the search. From Derek, "Hey Mac, Ryan's called me 3 times today. Everything okay?" From my sister Jillian, "What's going on? Ryan says you've disappeared in Hawaii? Call me ASAP." From my neighbor Susan, "Your husband is calling everyone. He even asked if I'd checked your usual hiding spots. Do you have hiding spots I don't know about? Also, are you okay?" The most revealing messages came from numbers I didn't recognize, parents from the children's school, and Ryan's colleagues. "Hi Mackenzie, this is Amanda from Jacob's class. Ryan asked me to reach out if I'd heard from you. Hope everything is all right. Mackenzie, it's Brian from Ryan's office. He's worried sick about you. If you get this, please call him." Ryan had activated a full-scale search party, casting himself as the concerned husband blindsided by his wife's inexplicable disappearance. It was a masterful performance that conveniently omitted the context of his own actions. I sent a group text to my closest friends and family. "I am safe and taking some personal time. This is my choice. Will explain when I'm ready. Please respect my privacy for now." Then I called my sister directly, knowing she would demand more information. "What the hell is happening?" Jillian asked immediately. "Ryan's telling everyone you had some kind of breakdown. Ryan invited his ex-girlfriend on our family vacation and booked a room for them to share with the kids. Called them his real love right in front of me." Jillian's colorful expletive made me smile for the first time in days. "Are you serious? That manipulative. Wait, is this the first time he's pulled something like this?" "The first time it's been this blatant," I admitted. But looking back, there's been a pattern all along. So what now? Are you hiding out somewhere? I'm at a different hotel, taking some time to think. I've got a meeting with a lawyer tomorrow, just to understand my options. Good, Jillian said firmly. And the kids? Are you worried about them? They're with both their parents in a luxury resort in Hawaii. They're fine, I said, surprising myself with the lack of guilt I felt. This isn't about them. After promising Jillian I'd keep in touch, I checked my voicemails one last time before turning off my phone again. The final message was from Ryan's mother, her tone now conciliatory rather than accusatory. Mackenzie, it's Barbara. I spoke with Ryan more thoroughly, and, well, I had no idea Amber was there. I understand why you might need some space. The children are asking for you, but I've told Ryan that he needs to be honest with them about why you left. Please call me when you can. Interesting how quickly the narrative was shifting. Ryan must have realized that his initial story, his wife inexplicably disappearing, was being questioned as people learned about Amber's presence. I turned my phone off again and headed to the hotel spa, determined to use this time for my own well-being rather than managing Ryan's crisis of his own making. The next morning, my lawyer friend Patricia met me for breakfast at a small cafe away from the major resorts. After hearing my story, she shook her head in disbelief. Legally speaking, you've done nothing wrong. You're an adult taking time for yourself. You've informed the authorities you're safe. You haven't abandoned any dependents. The children are with both parents. What about financially? I asked. I've always been the primary earner. Our house, the cars, even this vacation, mostly paid for with my income. Patricia's expression turned serious. That's where you need to be strategic. Washington is a community property state, so assets acquired during the marriage would typically be divided equally. But there are factors that could influence that, including contributions to the marriage beyond financial ones. She advised me to gather documentation of my financial contributions, to consider whether I wanted to pursue divorce or separation, and to consult with a family law specialist when I returned home. For now, she said, squeezing my hand, just take care of yourself. Clarity will come with distance. As I drove back to my hotel, I passed the Grand Wailea and glimpsed a familiar figure on the beach, Ryan, looking haggard and distracted as Emma built a sandcastle nearby. Amber sat under an umbrella with Jacob in her lap. The perfect family picture, exactly as Ryan had orchestrated. Yet his slumped shoulders and constant checking of his phone revealed the cracks in his carefully constructed scenario. His plan had backfired spectacularly, and for once, he wasn't controlling the narrative. I drove past without stopping, a strange sense of power flowing through me. For the first time in our relationship, Ryan was the one left wondering, waiting, and worrying. It wasn't vengeance I sought, just balance, and the space to decide my own future without his manipulation. Day 3 of my self-imposed exile found me sitting on the balcony of my hotel room, laptop open as I organized my thoughts and plans. I'd created spreadsheets of our finances, lists of shared and separate assets, and notes from my conversation with Patricia. The reality was stark when laid out in black and white. I had contributed over 70% of our household income for the past 7 years, while also taking on the majority of household management and childcare responsibilities. The house we lived in, the one Ryan had brought Amber to countless times for kid exchanges, had been purchased primarily with my down payment. The cars we drove, the vacations we took, the private school tuition for his children, all made possible largely by my income. Yet financial considerations felt secondary to the emotional clarity I was experiencing. The question wasn't about what I was entitled to legally, but what I deserved as a human being. Did I deserve a partner who respected me? Who considered my feelings before making significant decisions? Who didn't refer to his ex-girlfriend and children as his real love while treating me as an afterthought? The answer was clear, but the path forward remained complicated. I loved Emma and Jacob, had helped raise them for most of their conscious lives. The thought of leaving them behind created the only real pain in my newfound resolve. Turning on my phone again, I was surprised to find fewer messages than before. Either Ryan had given up his frantic search, or people had respected my group text requesting privacy. Most of the new messages were from the children themselves, sent from Ryan's phone. "Mackenzie, it's Emma. Daddy says you're taking some alone time. When are you coming back? I want to show you the seashells I found. Hi Mackenzie, Jacob here. I miss you. The water slide is really fun, but Daddy won't go on it with me." Their innocent messages tugged at my heart. They were confused, caught in the middle of adult complications they couldn't possibly understand. I texted back carefully. "Emma and Jacob, I miss you both very much. I'm taking some time to think about grown-up things, but I care about you just as much as always. Keep collecting those shells, Emma. Jacob, I bet you're brave enough for the water slide all by yourself now. I love you both." I hesitated before sending, wondering if communicating with the children without addressing Ryan was the right choice. In the end, I added, "Ryan, I'll be in touch soon to discuss next steps." Then I turned off my phone again and headed out for the day. I'd decided to explore the island alone, driving the famous road to Hannah with its waterfalls and black sand beaches. The journey challenging, beautiful, and undertaken entirely on my own terms felt symbolic of the path I was now choosing. By evening, I had made my decision. I would return to the Grand Wailea tomorrow, not as the apologetic wife Ryan probably expected, but as a woman clear in her worth and boundaries. In preparation, I visited a boutique in Wailea, purchasing a white linen dress that made me feel both powerful and serene. I had my hair styled, my nails done, small indulgences that reinforced my sense of self after years of prioritizing everyone else's needs. Back at my hotel, I rehearsed what I would say to Ryan, to the children, even to Amber if necessary. No raised voices, no dramatic accusations, just clear, firm statements about respect and boundaries. I would not be returning to our room arrangement or accepting the narrative Ryan had created. I would spend time with the children separately and maintain my dignity throughout. As I laid out my new dress for the morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Heather. "Just checking in. You okay?" I replied with newfound confidence. "Better than okay. I know what I'm doing now." "Proud of you," came her immediate response. "Whatever you decide, we've got your back." That night, I slept peacefully, no longer torn by indecision or weighed down by the effort of maintaining a facade of marital harmony. Tomorrow would bring confrontation, but for the first time in years, I was ready to stand firmly in my own truth. The next morning dawned bright and clear, matching my resolve. I dressed carefully in my new white linen dress, applied light makeup, and styled my hair in loose waves. The woman in the mirror looked confident, serene, and somehow younger than she had in years, as if the weight of constant compromise had been physically lifting her down. I drove to the Grand Wailea with the windows down, Hawaiian music playing softly on the radio. At the valet stand, I handed over my rental car keys with a generous tip. "Welcome back, Mrs. Harrison," the valet said, clearly recognizing me from check-in day. His eyes held curiosity, but professional discretion. "Thank you," I replied simply, walking into the grand lobby with measured steps. I had timed my arrival for 11 a.m. when I knew from Emma's texts that they would be at the main pool. Rather than announcing myself or checking in at reception, I walked directly through the property to the sprawling pool complex. It wasn't difficult to spot them. Ryan sat at a shaded table, phone in hand as always, while Amber helped Jacob with his floaties near the pool's edge. Emma was swimming with another child her age, her blonde hair visible even from a distance. I approached calmly, aware of how I must appear to the other vacationers, a composed woman in white walking purposefully toward her family. Ryan noticed me when I was about 20 feet away, his expression morphing from shock to relief to wariness in rapid succession. He stood abruptly. "Mackenzie, where have you been? We've been worried sick." His voice carried, causing Amber to turn and Emma to pause her swimming. Several nearby guests glanced over, their interest piqued by the obvious tension. Hello, Ryan, I said, my voice steady. Emma, Jacob, I continued, smiling at the children who were now rushing toward me. Mackenzie. Jacob launched himself at my legs, wet and excited. You came back. I hugged him tightly, then bent to embrace Emma, who approached more cautiously, her eyes darting between her father and me. I missed you both, I told them honestly. Amber remained by the pool, clearly uncomfortable, while Ryan hovered anxiously. Kids, why don't you go back to swimming for a few minutes while I talk to your dad? I suggested gently. Are you staying? Emma asked, her perception keen as always. I'm here now, I answered truthfully. We'll talk more later, okay? Once the children had reluctantly returned to the pool, with Amber keeping a watchful distance, I turned to Ryan. Can we sit? I gestured to the table he'd vacated. Ryan nodded, his relief at my calm demeanor palpable. He clearly had expected tears or accusations, not this poised woman before him. You disappeared, he began immediately, his tone accusatory despite his attempt at control. The police, the hotel staff, everyone's been looking for you. What were you thinking? I studied him for a moment, noting the defensive posture, the way he immediately positioned himself as the wronged party. It was so familiar, this pattern of deflection and blame-shifting, that I almost smiled at its predictability. I was thinking that I deserved better than being publicly humiliated and dismissed. I replied evenly. I was thinking that after 7 years of marriage, I deserved the courtesy of a conversation before you invited your ex-girlfriend on our family vacation and arranged to share a room with her. Ryan's face flushed. That's not, you're twisting what happened. Amber is here for the kids. They wanted her to come. And you decided this unilaterally, without discussing it with your wife. Then announced it publicly at check-in, referring to them as your real love. My voice remained calm, factual. I didn't mean it like that, Ryan protested, looking around nervously at the nearby guests who were pretending not to listen. You're making this into something it's not. What exactly did you mean, Ryan? When you told Amber that you and I were discussing separation. When you booked a room for the two of you with the children while relegating me to a separate suite. What was I supposed to understand from that? His eyes widened at the mention of his conversation with Amber. She told you that? Look, I was just trying to make things easier for everyone. The kids are more comfortable with their mom, you know that? I do know that. I also know that I've spent 7 years trying to create a family with you, only to be consistently reminded that I'm an outsider. That ends today. A hotel staff member approached cautiously. Is everything all right here? Can I get you anything? We're fine, thank you, I replied with a smile before Ryan could answer. Just having an overdue conversation. When we were alone again, I continued. I've booked a separate room here at the resort for the remainder of our stay. I'd like to spend time with the children without you or Amber present for part of each day. The rest of the time, you're free to continue your family vacation as planned. Ryan stared at me, processing this unexpected development. You want to stay? Separately. Yes. This vacation was primarily paid for with my income, and I have no intention of missing out on Hawaii. But I won't participate in the charade that we're a happy family when you've made your priorities abundantly clear. Before he could respond, Amber approached, holding Jacob's hand. She looked uncomfortable but determined. Mackenzie, she began, I think we should talk. Ryan told me you knew about this arrangement and were okay with it. If that wasn't the case. She trailed off, glancing at Ryan accusingly. Amber, this isn't the time, Ryan interjected quickly. Actually, it's exactly the time, I countered. Amber, I had no idea you were joining our vacation until we arrived at check-in. Ryan never mentioned it to me. But this isn't about you. It's about the pattern of disrespect in my marriage. Amber looked genuinely shocked. I would never have come if I'd known that. Ryan specifically said you two had discussed separation and were using this vacation as a transition time for the kids. Ryan's face darkened. Amber, take the kids to get lunch. Mackenzie and I need to talk privately. No, I said firmly. I've said what I needed to say. I'll be checking into room 3215. Emma and Jacob can come to see me there at 3 p.m. if they'd like to. I've arranged a special sailing trip for just the three of us tomorrow morning. Ryan's expression shifted from anger to calculation as he realized the dynamics had changed completely. The story he'd been telling of his unstable wife who had disappeared without reason was unraveling publicly. "We should discuss this privately," he tried again, his voice lowered. "For the kids' sake." "I agree that the children shouldn't witness arguments between adults," I replied, "which is why I'm establishing a clear, separate schedule for my time with them. You and Amber can explain my absence however you see fit, but I suggest honesty. They're perceptive children." With that, I stood, smoothing my white dress. "Emma, Jacob," I called, waving to the children in the pool. "I'll see you at 3 o'clock, okay? I've got some special plans for us." They waved back enthusiastically, seeming more relieved than confused by this new arrangement. As I walked away, Ryan hurried after me, grabbing my elbow. "You can't just dictate how this is going to work," he hissed. "What about counseling? Don't we at least owe it to the kids to try?" I gently but firmly removed his hand from my arm. "We can discuss the future when we return to Seattle. For now, this is how the remainder of this vacation will proceed. I suggest you focus on explaining to Amber why you lied to her, rather than trying to control me." His face contorted with frustration, the expression of a man used to not getting his way. But we were in a public place, surrounded by witnesses, and he was smart enough to recognize his disadvantage. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "You're right," I agreed. "It's just beginning." I walked away, my steps light, aware of the curious glances from other guests, but unconcerned by them. At the reception desk, I checked into my new room, a comfortable garden view accommodation I'd arranged that morning. "Welcome back, Mrs. Harrison," the receptionist said warmly. "We've prepared everything as requested." "Thank you. And please note that I'll have 2 children visiting me regularly, but they won't be staying overnight in my room." "Of course. Our kids' club is available if you'd like some activities for them. I've taken the liberty of adding your name to the authorized pickup list for Emma and Jacob Harrison per your phone call this morning." I smiled appreciatively at her efficiency. Perfect. In my new room, I unpacked the few belongings I'd purchased during my time away and prepared for the children's visit. I'd ordered special treats from room service, Jacob's favorite chocolate chip cookies and Emma's preferred fresh fruit plate, and had picked up small gifts for them from a shop in Lahaina. At precisely 3 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Emma and Jacob stood there, Ryan hovering awkwardly behind them. "I'll pick them up at 6, he said stiffly. "We'll be at the beach by then," I replied. "Why don't you meet us at the main entrance to the beach path?" He nodded curtly and left as the children bounded into my room, exclaiming over the treats and presents I'd arranged. For the next 3 hours, we built sandcastles, collected shells, and talked about everything and nothing, carefully avoiding the complicated adult situation surrounding us. When Ryan appeared at the beach path at 6, the children hugged me tightly before leaving, secure in the knowledge that they'd see me again the next day. That evening, alone in my room, I received a text from Amber. "I want you to know I had no idea Ryan hadn't discussed this with you. I would never have agreed to come. The kids are confused, but okay. I'm planning to book my own room tomorrow. This isn't what I signed up for." I appreciated her honesty but didn't respond. Her relationship with Ryan, whatever it was or would become, was no longer my concern. My focus now was on maintaining my relationship with the children while establishing a new independence for myself. The remainder of the vacation unfolded according to the boundaries I'd established. Each day, I spent quality time with Emma and Jacob, creating memories that didn't include Ryan or Amber. We took a boat trip to Molokini Crater for snorkeling, visited the aquarium, and hiked to a hidden waterfall. Ryan alternated between cold silence, attempts at reconciliation, and thinly veiled threats about custody and finances. I remained calm and consistent, neither engaging with his manipulation nor closing the door completely on future discussions once we returned home. True to her word, Amber moved to her own room, creating an awkward triangle that had not been part of Ryan's original plan. The perfect family vacation he had envisioned had disintegrated, replaced by a complex arrangement that centered on the children's well-being rather than his preferences. On our final night in Hawaii, as I watched the sunset alone from my balcony, I realized that the ache I had expected to feel, the grief of a marriage ending, was largely absent. In its place was a sense of possibility that I hadn't experienced in years. Whatever came next would be challenging, particularly regarding my relationship with Emma and Jacob. But for the first time since that moment at the check-in desk, I was looking forward to the future rather than mourning the past. 1 month after returning from Hawaii, I sat in my new apartment in downtown Seattle, unpacking the last of my personal belongings. The space was smaller than the suburban house I'd shared with Ryan, but felt more authentically mine. Modern furnishings in blues and grays, large windows overlooking the city skyline, and absolutely no decorative items chosen to please someone else's taste. The transition had been simultaneously easier and more difficult than I'd anticipated. Easier because Ryan, facing the public embarrassment of his actions in Hawaii, had been surprisingly agreeable to my proposed separation terms. More difficult because of the children's confusion and the logistical complexities of untangling 7 years of shared life. My lawyer had drafted a separation agreement that protected my financial interests while providing reasonable support for Emma and Jacob. Ryan had initially balked at the terms, threatening to fight for more, but his position weakened considerably when Amber, perhaps feeling guilty about her unwitting role in our marriage's collapse, confirmed his manipulation and lies. "I never intended to be part of breaking up your marriage," she told me during an unexpectedly candid coffee meeting after our return. "Ryan had been telling me for months that you two were essentially separated, just keeping up appearances. He said you were focused on your career and had checked out of family life." Her revelation wasn't surprising but confirmed what I'd already recognized. Ryan had been methodically creating parallel narratives, telling each of us what we needed to hear while orchestrating the outcome he wanted. The most painful aspect had been explaining the situation to Emma and Jacob. We'd agreed to tell them together, with a family therapist present, that we would be living apart, but that both of us still loved them completely. "But why can't Mackenzie live with us anymore?" Jacob had asked, his 8-year-old face crumpling with confusion. "Sometimes adults need different things to be happy," I'd explained carefully. "Your dad and I have decided we can be better parents to you if we live separately. But I will always, always be in your life." Emma, at 10, had been more perceptive. "Is this because Mom came on our vacation?" she'd asked directly. Ryan had started to deflect, but I'd answered honestly, "That was part of it, Emma. Grown-up relationships are complicated, but what's most important is that we all still care about each other, even if things are changing." We'd established a visitation schedule that gave me time with the children every Wednesday evening and alternating weekends. Not as much as I'd had when living with them full-time, but consistent, quality time that allowed our relationships to continue developing. Today was Friday, and they would be arriving for our weekend together in a few hours. I'd planned a trip to the Museum of Flight, dinner at their favorite pizza place, and a movie night with a fort built in my new living room, experiences that didn't require lavish spending, but created the connections that mattered. My phone chimed with a text from Ryan. "Emma has a science project due Monday. Can you make sure she works on it this weekend?" The old Mackenzie would have immediately rearranged our plans to prioritize the project, feeling guilty about potentially impacting Emma's academics. The new Mackenzie typed, "I'll make sure she has time to work on it Sunday afternoon. We have plans tomorrow that she's looking forward to." Setting boundaries remained a daily practice, one that still felt uncomfortable at times, but necessary for my well-being. Ryan had attempted reconciliation multiple times in the weeks following our return from Hawaii. He'd sent flowers to my office, suggested couples therapy, even enlisted friends to speak on his behalf. When those approaches failed, he tried guilt, emphasizing how difficult the separation was for the children and implying that my selfishness was hurting them. Through it all, I'd maintained the clarity I'd found in Hawaii. I deserved a relationship built on mutual respect and consideration, not one where I constantly adjusted my needs and expectations to accommodate someone else's agenda. Amber, surprisingly, had become something of an ally. Once she understood the full context of the situation, she'd made efforts to respect the boundaries I'd established with the children and had even encouraged Ryan to honor our separation agreement. Their relationship, whatever it had been or might become, was no longer my concern, except as it affected Emma and Jacob. My career had flourished in the wake of the separation. Freed from the constant accommodations I'd made for Ryan's schedule and preferences, I'd accepted a promotion I'd previously declined because it required occasional travel. My new role as marketing director came with a substantial salary increase and greater creative control, opportunities I'd hesitated to pursue while trying to maintain our family structure. My friends had rallied around me, particularly Heather, who had helped me find and furnish my new apartment. "I've missed this version of you," she'd said as we assembled furniture together. The Mackenzie who knows what she wants and goes after it. I'd missed that version of myself too, the woman who had been gradually erased through years of compromise and accommodation. A knock at the door interrupted my reflections. Opening it, I found Emma and Jacob standing there with overnight bags, Ryan behind them with an awkward smile. "They couldn't wait until 5, he explained with a shrug. "Been talking about the museum all week." "That's fine," I said, genuinely pleased by their enthusiasm. "Come in, guys. I've got your rooms all ready." The children rushed past me, eager to explore the spaces I'd created especially for them, Jacob's room with its space theme and Emma's with the ballet decor she loved. Ryan lingered at the doorway. "You look good, Mac," he said quietly. "The new job must be going well." "It is," I confirmed, neither inviting further conversation nor shutting it down completely. We were learning a new way to interact, one that centered on the children while acknowledging our changed relationship. About the science project. "I've got it covered," I assured him. "Emma and I will work on it Sunday." He nodded, accepting the boundary. "I'll pick them up at 6 on Sunday then." After he left, I joined the children in exploring the apartment, their excitement at the small touches I'd included. Favorite snacks in the pantry, new books on their shelves, framed photos of our best moments together, filling the space with joyful energy. Later, as we walked to a nearby restaurant for dinner, Emma slipped her hand into mine. "I like your new place," she said thoughtfully. "It feels like you." "What do you mean?" I asked, curious about her perception. She considered for a moment, her young face serious. "At the house, everything had to be a certain way because Dad liked it like that. Here, it's different. It's more happy." Her insight, so perceptive for a 10-year-old, brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "I'm glad you think so," I said, squeezing her hand. "I feel more happy here too." That night, after the children were asleep in their new rooms, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, reflecting on the journey of the past month. The pain and disruption had been real, but so was the growth and renewal that had followed. The woman who had silently walked away from that check-in desk in Hawaii had found her voice, her boundaries, and her path forward. The real love comment that had initially shattered me had ultimately freed me to discover what real love actually meant, including, most importantly, love and respect for myself. As I watched the city lights below, I felt a profound gratitude for that painful moment of clarity and all that had followed. Sometimes, the most significant journeys begin with a single step away from what's familiar, toward a future that's undefined but full of possibility. Have you ever had to walk away from a situation that was diminishing you? What gave you the strength to finally choose yourself? Share your story in the comments below. And if you found value in my journey, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's never too late to reclaim your worth. Thank you for listening, and remember, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself.